Turn over to the other side of the desk because Solange Moujad joins us here to take a look at what's making headlines in newspapers all around the world today. And lots of papers then abuzz with Donald Trump's visit to the United Kingdom, particularly that explosive interview he gave to The Sun newspaper.
Indeed, it's being called a verbal grenade. Let's take a look at that cover of The Sun and its exclusive interview. It says, May has wrecked Brexit, US deal is off. In the interview, Trump says that Theresa May did not follow his advice and that she went about the Brexit negotiations in the wrong way. To add insult to injury, Trump says that May's foreign secretary, Boris Johnson, would make a great prime minister and that a trade deal would be off the table if there is a quote-unquote soft Brexit.
Now, all this thrashing, as the press is calling it, is no big surprise because of Trump's history of really using some quite explosive language, but it does come directed towards one of the UK's main allies.
Indeed, and much of the British, American and international press is talking about this special relationship that the UK and the US have, or one that turns out to not be so special. That's according to the Swiss paper Le Temps. They say that even, in this article actually was written even before the Sun exclusive came out, and they say that the special relationship hasn't existed for quite a while. They cite Jeremy Corbyn, who said he wouldn't have invited Trump, and that is actually a stance that The Guardian backs as well. In its main editorial, the paper says that it supports the protests and that Trump has done nothing to deserve a visit to the UK. The paper claims that the Brits like that Trump's claim that Brits like him is in fact fake news, that, quote, we don't like him at all and he isn't welcome here. Now, the left-leaning American site, The Atlantic, goes a step further. They say that the US president has betrayed Britain, that the UK is shaken by the prospect of Brexit, and that the US should have stepped up to the plate and guaranteed a trade deal, or at least some support. Instead, The Atlantic says the US has practiced, quote, malign neglect, and that Trump has proven, according to The Atlantic, that Trump's, quote, only overseas friend is Vladimir Putin.
Well, he will be meeting Vladimir Putin in just a few days' time once he leaves the United Kingdom. What have you been reading in the press about that upcoming meeting?
Well, let me show you a cartoon from The Economist. It has Trump, there it is. It has Trump as a bull going face to face with his allies. And then on the other side, it has him being tickled, a bull being tickled happily by Vladimir Putin, giving Trump a nice old belly scratch. Now, on a more serious note, though, the New York Times says that the one-on-one meeting between the two leaders is, quote, diplomatic malpractice and rank insanity. That's the view of Susan Rice in the New York Times. She says that Trump is likely to be outmaneuvered by Putin and that the meeting could mark a watershed moment of retreat for the US's global position. Now, as to Vladimir Putin and what he may be thinking, well, there's an excellent in-depth article today in the Washington Post that talks about how Putin has actually become a global brand, one that is associated with strength. And the paper says that that branding campaign is actually working and paying off in many countries where confidence in the Russian leader is growing.
Indeed. Well, let's turn to another story we've been following for us then in Africa, Solange, and that's the confirmation that this so-called dirty diesel is being exported to multiple countries on the continent.
Indeed, Dutch authorities have confirmed that traders are indeed exporting petrol to Africa that is laced with multiple toxins at levels that are up to 1,000 times higher than European standards. Now, Le Monde takes us through the scandal, which was initially pegged as propaganda, but is in fact that the Dutch government has confirmed that. Now, the paper also explains in an editorial about how this issue has been debated for a decade, and that now with this report, the paper hopes that African governments enact stricter standards and that greedy companies answer to the dirty diesel that they have been selling.
Well, Solange, the press review wouldn't be complete, would it, without a little bit of football, as France is, of course, going to be playing in that final against Croatia on Sunday. And you've been looking at a lot of coverage, which is thinking about what a potential win could mean for French society. Yeah,
we're all excited, but there are some serious things to discuss here. Now, the French press is talking a lot about the societal effects that a win would have, and more specifically, something that's called here black blanc beurre. Now, You can loosely translate that as white, black, Arab. And it's a phrase that was used a lot in the previous 98 World Cup win to show how diverse the French team was, and thus how diverse French society is. Well, that was a sort of a rosy picture that painted a rosy picture on real societal problems, such as the rise of the far right. Now, Le Monde is saying that France should not this time instrumentalize the diversity of the players, that France has racial issues and tensions that need to be addressed, but that the World Cup is not the place to do it. A sentiment echoed by the Catholic paper La Croix. They say the French team is not French society on a whole, that if France wins on Sunday, that it should be taken for what it really is. And here's the positive uptick, that a Sunday win would be a fête populaire, or a national party that we can all celebrate.
Definitely. Will you be celebrating, Solange, assuming France can go all the way?
Of course.
Thank you very much. Solange there with our press review this hour. We'll have to take